Vice President Yemi Osinbajo met with stakeholders over reported communal clash in Adamawa State.
Senate Committee on Petroleum Downstream Sector cautions filling stations against hike in price and hoarding of petroleum products.
Maize Association of Nigeria calls for a total ban on the importation of maize.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on the handling of the Abacha loot as Switzerland signs agreement to release another tranche of over $320 million.
Around $321 million in public funds stolen by former Nigerian head of state Sani Abacha will be returned to the country following the signing of a tripartite memorandum of understanding by the federal government, Switzerland, and also the World Bank. Now,
the money originally deposited in Luxembourg was confiscated by a Swiss court in late 2014. Now, the Swiss government said that in accordance with a policy on the repayment of national assets taken illegally, it has agreed with Nigeria and the World Bank to return the money for the benefit of the Nigerian people.
Now, military ruler Sani Abacha, in power from 1993 until about his death in 1998, is suspected to have embezzled $2.2 billion from Nigeria's central bank, and the funds were frozen in a legal procedure by Geneva's public prosecutor.
Now, the Swiss government has confirmed that it had so far returned $723 million of funds that have been seized from the family of the late former head of state, Sani Abacha. And of course, the return has been to the Nigerian government over the last 10 years. Now, the amount also excludes the $321 million which the Swiss authorities are now planning to repatriate to Nigeria.
It is believed that the funds to be returned to Nigeria would contribute to the implementation of social programs for the benefit of the Nigerian people, well, in an efficient and accountable way. Now, guaranteed by monitoring, this monitoring will, of course, will be done by the World Bank based on the principles of national interest, trust, and mutual respect.
Now, taking into account Chapter 5 of the UN Convention Against Corruption, which is the international legal framework for asset recovery, the signatories also drew attention to Article 51 of the document that states should afford each other measures of cooperation and assistance. Now, the agreement to repatriate the latest tranche also emphasizes the need for the process of repatriation of the stolen funds to be undertaken based on international best practices of transparency and accountability in a manner that would also satisfy the scrutiny of civil society and the international community.
Well, quite right, Kingsley. So how can this fund be handled in the best interest of the Nigerian people? And how were the other tranches released in the past utilized? How can the $321 million be utilized judiciously? Well, these and some other questions we will be posing to our guests as we focus on the release of another tranche of the Sani Abacha Loot Aid Fund. That is one of the topics of our conversation today.
All right, Blessing. Now, creating a united Nigeria with shared values where social justice and fairness surpass individual interest is the vision of most Nigerians. Now, a group is on the forefront of promoting just this idea, and the group is called the Revive Nigeria Group. It's a citizens' platform for balanced, reasonable thought and action that will seek to address socio-economic governance as well as development issues in the country. That we shall also be taking a look at how the group that's Revive Nigeria intends to achieve its mandate, and that will be, of course, in our discussion segment. Now, this is the outlook for us on Good Morning Nigeria today, reaching you as always live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're Africa's largest TV network, and we are broadcasting from the Abuja headquarters studios. My name is Kingsley Osadolo.
My name is Blessing Abu. I also join Kingsley to welcome you to the program. In the course of the program, we'll bring to you a companion segment, which include the newspaper review. We'll take a look at business. We'll peep into sports as well as the foreign and entertainment news. Let's kick off now with the morning news, and here's Ogwa Vivian Onyedibia as our guide. Good morning to you, Vivian.
Good morning, Blessing and Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to the news. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has rounded off his visit to Numan, Adamawa State, where he held discussion with stakeholders over reported communal clash in certain villages in the state. The president had a meeting with the Lamido of Adamawa and traditional chiefs. Professor Osinbajo says he is in the state as instructed by President Buhari to have first-hand report of what happened in Numan and Mubi. He assured the people that impunity would not be condoned, saying that a permanent solution would be worked out. And away from that, the National Security Advisor Mohammed Babagana Mungunu says Nigeria is incorporating measures to address current challenges in administering criminal justice approaches to victims of terrorism and resettlement of communities. He stated this at the International Day for the Adoption of Nigeria's Policy for Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism. Well, in furtherance of Operation Lafia Dole, the Nigerian Air Force has successfully neutralized a large gathering of Boko Haram terrorists in Bogomeri, Borno State. A statement by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Vice Marshal Olatokunbo Adesonya, indicates that following an intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance of a large gathering of Boko Haram terrorists, NAF fighter aircraft were detailed to carry out interdiction on the target in quick succession, killing the insurgents and setting some structures ablaze. Also in Gobara, 15 kilometers northwest of Goza, a building used as hideout by Boko Haram terrorists was destroyed through coordinated airstrikes by NAF Alpha jets. And the Northern Traditional Council General Assembly has commenced the process of adopting internally displaced children scattered in various camps across the region. To forestall social catastrophe, neglecting them poses to the region and the nation at large. Chiefs and obas from the southern region were also in attendance.
To allow those children to grow up in IDP camps without knowing who their parents are, they definitely will have a big problem in our hands. And a possibility of some of us taking them, adopting them, after consultation with the various governments in those IDP camps, see how we can take some of them as our own children.
To legislative matters now, the Senate is to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the local content elements and cost variations relating to the Egina oil field project. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye reports that this followed a motion moved by Senator representing Lagos West, Solomon Adiola.
The concern that over the life of the project, the cost component has been reviewed twice, from the initial $6 billion approximately budget ends to about $13 billion, and most recently to $16.352 billion approximately. Disturbed that the local content element as well as the cost variation of the project has been subject of several petitions and queries over the years.
I say it is time now for us to know that some of these things, people took advantage of us because of lack of knowledge of technology. That is why I want to support this motion, that we go into full investigation on this Egina project in order to save the country.
An ad hoc committee is necessary because you are talking about an agreement. You are talking about an agreement that was entered into, the consequence of which put us into this place.
Some key resolutions were also made following the report of the Joint Committee on Finance, Appropriations and National Planning and Economic Affairs on the 2018-2020 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy paper.
3 million barrels per day, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. To read that the benchmark recommends the adoption of $47 per barrel as benchmark price for 2018 budget. Those in favor of this amendment say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer recommendation 3. Joint Committee recommends the adoption of 305 naira to $1 as proposed for 2018 budget. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
An ad hoc committee will also investigate alleged human rights abuses by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. The House of Representatives has passed the 2018-2020 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy paper, which adopted 2.3 million barrels per day as proposed by the executive for 2018 budget. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the legislators have also passed the 2018 appropriation bill for second reading.
I would like to remind us of our duty as honorable members for a good representation of the people of our constituent and the country in general.
To congratulate the executive branch of government, specifically the President of the Republic, for laying the budget before the end of the outgoing year.
And away from that, the Maize Association of Nigeria has called for a total ban on the importation of maize into the country to help local farmers and complement the exportation drive of the federal government. Its national president, Pastor Tunji Adenola, at a meeting in Abuja said the federal government ought to have made pronouncement on the ban long ago.
We expect the president to declare total ban of maize so that the farmers can fully invest.
The growth in the production of maize has always depended on the research findings.
Well, that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll be back with Blessing and Kingsley after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Men say they cannot be under women who make more money than them.
God forbid.
No, my husband cannot be lazy and spending my money.
I put food on the table for you to open your large mouth and eat.
My husband should not be intimidated by my success.
You're still the head of the family, irrespective of your financial status.
Says another group of women.
If you marry woman, we hope pass you.
And the debate and opinions go on and on. Your rib-cracking comedy, Professor John Bull, takes a very comic and educative look at this episode titled Breadwinner, and laugh like never before.
My love for you has no limits.
No mind what this man they talk. 90% of what man they tell woman when they toast up. Nah lie. I think I don't buy a table.
Bros, what I do you now?
No Francais.
Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network. Glow. Unlimited. You're welcome to Corruption, the musical. Ooh.
Creative Youth Initiative Against Corruption presents CYIAC Corruption Busters, an initiative to promote culture of integrity in children, youth, and adults towards achieving global goals in 2030. Join us for the launch and movie premiere of CYIAC Corruption Busters to mark United Nations International Anti-Corruption Day. Date, 9 December 2017. Time, 3 p.m. Venue, Filmhouse IMAX Cinema, Bisola Durosimi Eti Drive, Lekki Phase 1, Lekki. Visit www.cyiac.com for details. Download CYIAC app to join our conversation and watch live stream of the event. Let's join hands together to make our nation great again. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
There's such a thing as irresistible taste.
And you'll discover it in every pack of Chi Exotic. When you feel the need to just relax, get lost in the taste.
The taste of celebration.
So, indulge and get lost in the taste of the Chi Exotic range of delicious fruit blends.
Oh, I love the taste.
Chi Exotic Nectar. I love the taste.
Helen! Your kitchen gets 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
This also gets a 10. Should we see the toilet now?
Sure.
This gets just 1.
It is clean.
But not perfect 10.
Better than my detergent and bleach? Impossible.
Challenge? Try the new Apic 10X.
Compared to bleach and detergent, Apic sticker formulation removes yellow stains times better, giving you a sparkling clean toilet.
Wow.
Now you also take that
Apic 10X challenge.
Also available in 200 ml pack.
All right, well, welcome back. If you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. It's time for us now to take some business news, and African leaders are in Cairo to discuss cross-border investment. Plus, the Nigerian Stock Exchange sustains its bullish run. Let's join our correspondent, Leah Kajumba Batunde, for details of the stories.
6 heads of state and Africa's leading CEOs are presently in Cairo, Egypt, to discuss regional integration and job creation in Africa. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is hosting the Africa 2017 Forum with presidents of Guinea, Chad, Rwanda, Cote d'Ivoire, Comoros and Somalia in attendance. Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, current chair of the AU, as well as the Prime Minister of Mozambique, would also be joining the forum. This business and investment forum, whose theme is driving investment for inclusive growth, has been convened to increase intra-African investments and cross-border collaboration. The forum is being organized by the Ministry of Investment and International Cooperation of Egypt and the Commercial Regional Investment Agency, RIA. Speaking ahead of the forum, Dr. Sahar Nasser, Minister of Investment and International Cooperation of Egypt, stressed the importance of greater intra-Africa collaboration. Manufacturing is another important sector where private sector support is needed. McKinsey Global Institute estimates that Africa could double its manufacturing output in 10 years, which could ultimately create between 6 million and 14 million stable jobs and boost African GDP growth. Crude production from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, dropped again in November to a 6-month low. Oil companies and ship tracking data show that total production fell 80,000 barrels a day to 32.47 million a day last month, the lowest level since May, when output was 32.29 million. Angola led the decliners in November with a drop of 100,000 barrels a day from October. The International Energy Agency, which tracks production from OPEC members, warned last month that field maintenance will probably affect production in the African nation. OPEC and some non-OPEC members, including Russia, decided on November 30 to extend their deal to cap production until the end of next year, seeking to complete the market rebalancing by bringing down global oil inventories to the 5-year average. Nigeria and Libya exempt from making cuts, although although they will be included in the efforts to rein in production from January following last week's OPEC agreement. Saudi Arabia remains the biggest producer within OPEC, followed by Iraq. And finally, the bullish sentiment continued Tuesday. The Nigerian Stock Exchange as the market rallied up 1.37%. Next is a graphic summary. And that is it from the business desk. My name is Leah Katun. Babatunde.
Thank you very much, Leah Katun Babatunde from the business reports. Up next for us is newspaper review with our guest.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Achoibe, is right here in the studios with us for today's edition of the review segment. Bayo, morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kinsey. Good morning. Good morning, Blessing. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's take a look at the front page of the papers that we have this morning. For the Independent newspaper, the lead story says fuel queues spread despite NNPC assurances. Fuel queues spread despite NNPC assurances. And you can see the photograph there. This photograph is from the Central Business District in the Federal Capital Territory, and that was yesterday. Now, that's the same lead story for the Nigerian Pilot. The Nigerian Pilot has it this way: nationwide fuel scarcity worsens, and NNPC boss Baru cost short London trip. That story is in greater detail on page 7. But of course, there are other stories you would find on the front pages of the other papers that we have this morning. But for those ones, it's the lead story. It's on the fuel scarcity. Let's return very quickly again to the Independent newspaper and then take some other headlines.
If I come in the same story about the fuel scarcity.
You have the fuel scarcity copies as well. Right?
On the front page of the Punch is there on the front page. You have consumers grown as fuel scarcity worsens both in Lagos and Abuja. Then senators to inspect filling stations and summon NNPC bus. You see it graphically represented there on the front page. And also for the New Telegraph, you have it captioned this way: fuel scarcity forces NNPC bus back from foreign trip. There are 4 riders to that panic buying. Queues degenerate. Nigerians groan. And Senator Solomon Barrow, pump price hits 150 naira per litre. And also the photograph of how it's been played out both in Lagos as well as in Abuja is right on the front pages. Straightforward, Bayo?
Yes, even it's visible. The queues are long already, even in Abuja, and indications are that they are the same in Lagos and several other cities. But what is the cause of this? The NNPC says there is enough fuel, so it's a case of there is petrol abundant in depots, but not sufficient in the filling stations. And this has been traced, according to the Daily Independent, to report a clash between Independent Petrol Marketers Association as well as Depot and Independent Petrol Products Marketers Association, DAPMAN. And they are all arguing over ex-depot price. The dispute was initially between the Western Zone and the depot at Apapa, but apparently it has spread everywhere. The IPMAN is arguing that they had an agreement with the NNPC that petrol will be sold to them at ex-depot price of about 133 naira 28 kobo. However, DAPMAN, which is now serving as a middleman, is selling to them at a rate of 141. And for 8 months now, many of their members have been running their filling stations at a loss because they have deposits to pay at bank, and they have running costs to pay, and they cannot break even without selling the petrol below at 146 naira. So there is a need to eliminate this middleman bottleneck that is causing the confusion.
All right, let's return to other stories. This day newspaper above the nameplate. You have the story on the budget. It says Buhari, Saraki, and Dogara meet to fast-track passage of 2018 budget. Two riders to that. National Assembly approves MTEF, that's the medium-term expenditure framework, and increases oil benchmark to $47 per barrel. An appropriation bill passes second reading. Now, other headlines on the front page there, you have this below there. It says, SEC to resume Owando forensic audit from today, with the Rider House seeks Guazo's restatement pending investigation. But the latest story is on external reserves, just below the photograph. It says, external reserves hit 4-year high of $38.2 billion on the back of Eurobond issue, with the Rider CBN to draft credit framework for SMEs and pumps $210 million into FX market. That's the outlook for this day newspaper. Of course, the story on the budget is also there on the front page of Independent newspaper above the nameplate. But Independent is saying on its own story that Senate sets December 19 for passage of 2018 budget, and also raising oil benchmark to $47 per barrel.
Okay, quickly, let's get back to the New Telegraph. I have just above the nameplate the story on the Libyan detention camp. Federal government, that's now, 2,778 Nigerians in Libyan detention camp who were sold to slavery by fellow Nigerians. This comes from the returnees. More details of that story on page 7. Just moving below the nameplates, we have, again, Diezani loses $4.764 million houses to the federal government. You find that story on page 6. Or your PDP adult Ladoja as national chairman. More details on page 10. Dangote, 49 others emerge Bloomberg's world best. National Assembly sets December 19 for passage of 2018 budget. More details on pages 5 and 7. Now, below the photograph of the fuel queues, both in Lagos and Abuja, you have the story. Oyegunda's the APC national chair. Atiku lacks tangible electoral value. More details of that on page 5.
That story on Atiku is also on the front page of the Independent. It's actually the second lead story. Okay. Right at the foot of the front page, Independent. It says, Atiku asks Saraki, Amechi, and others to return home. Atiku asks Saraki, Amechi, and others to return home. Well, two writers there said, no one will follow you to PDP, says Oyegun. And we expect more defectors from APC. That's according to McCarthy.
Well, let's start with the news on the economy. The Nigerian Reserve has hit $38.2 billion. This was revealed by the governor of Central Bank. And he says that in the next 26 days, before December runs out, there's every likelihood that it will reach $40 billion. If we succeed, that will take us to where it was in January 2014, before everything was depleted to 23 billion of October last year. But the Central Bank governor revealed this while at a commissioning inauguration of a factory in Agbara in Lagos. And he revealed that due to the prohibition of 41 items on the foreign exchange list, this company came to seek forbearance. He denied them and encouraged them, and they have now revived the factory. In the process, they are now employing more Nigerians, and those ones too will now have secondary Nigerians being employed. He's encouraged all investors who have interest to revive their moribund factories in Nigeria, and the Central Bank will provide that support. The speculation about the budget being passed on by December 19th is predicated on the move by the Senate. Yesterday, after approving the medium-term expenditure framework, the budget passed second reading, and the implication is that it is now being sent to the committees for budget defense. And the Senate President warned that ministries, departments, and agencies must stick strictly to the timetable so that they will be able to pass the budget within the scheduled day. He specifically announced that plenary will resume December 19th, but it didn't give any indication, which means that by December 19th, the Senate is expecting that the committees will have concluded the budget screening process, and it will be ready for screening. Meanwhile, there have been overtures between the President, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, all working in tandem to ensure that that December 31st deadline is met in passing the budget.
Oh, that becomes okay. Back to the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper above the nameplate, we have 2018, which part of the story we read from the other papers, myself and Kingsley. Help PDP return to Aso Rock. McCarthy urges Atiku. That story is trending on page 7. Now, for World Cup, Nigeria is budgeting about 3 billion naira for Super Eagles. That story is on page 46. Oshibajo visit Adamawa over clashes. Residents bury 95. Now, let's move down the foot of the paper, the Punch newspaper. Reps celebrate crippled Lagos lawyer, and also Obafemi Awolowo University record breaker. You get to find out more details on page 9. Alleged kidnapper of Central Bank of Nigeria's governor's wife dies in custody. More details about that on page 15. Now, monkeypox, back in the news. Benue quarantines core member and lover. More details on page 40. 300 youth women protest at Plateau Assembly, submit anti-grazing bill. Again, thieves burgle Benue government house, steal valuables. You'll find more details on page 5. And for the 4.9 billion naira fraud suit, ex-minister gets permission to treat cancer in the United States. Kingsley, more stories from you?
All right, yeah, just some stories inside the papers. Well, that's a story on the, of course, we know that the non-teaching staff of universities are currently on strike. But there's a story from page 48 of this day newspaper. You cannot see that on the screen now, but I'll just take it from the paper itself. Ngige, that's the kicker. It says, federal government has met striking university staff 12-point demands. It says, urges them to share strike and threatens to invoke no work, no pay. So the minister indicated that the government has not only fully met all the 12-point conditions raised in the Memorandum of Settlement reached with non-teaching staff of federal universities in September this year, but has also complied faithfully with the timelines for the implementation of the agreement. Of course, there are 3 unions that are involved in the strike. There's SANU, NASU, and NAT. We had the vice president or the vice chair, Southwest, join us yesterday on the conversation on this issue. So the federal government is saying it's met the 12-point demands of the OSTAT. And also a story there on page 48 of this day newspaper comes as follows. It says, Nasarawa government bans herdsmen from night grazing. All right.
The vice president visited Numan yesterday and surrounding villages, particularly where there have been clashes between farmers and herders. And the vice president says he understands that the clashes has resulted for long-running misunderstanding which had not been tackled. He assured all and sundry that a permanent and final solution will be found so that we'll have peace return to all those areas. Now on the political scene, the former vice president Atiku Abubakar was at the Wadata house of the PDP headquarters, and there he declared, calling on all those who had defected like him to return home. He says PDP is the only party in Nigeria. However, the chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Chief John Odigi Oyegu, says that no member of the APC will follow Atiku in solidarity. He says, rather, the APC is going to get stronger and stronger, particularly that those who had double intentions have left. The chairman of the National National Committee of the APC, McCarthy, says that the PDP expects more defections. And watch out, by Saturday, when the convention is on, you begin to see many political beds migrating.
All right, that's the most that we can take. I would like to thank Bayo for being with us this morning on the newspaper review segment. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll go into our discussion segment.
The Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, the Made in Nigeria campaign. In the midst of unprecedented multiple challenges, our great country Nigeria, as Africa's largest economy, is surely marching on to a new era of all-round prosperity, especially through re-engineered and diversified economy, powerfully driven by the change agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR.
We will patronize local entrepreneurs. We will promote the manufacturing powerhouses. Our objective is to make Nigeria a new manufacturing hub.
It
It is not time to complain. It is time to join the campaign. It is time for economic recovery, growth and diversification of our economy. Buy Made in Nigeria.
Whenever pain occurs, you want quick relief. Try Nurofen Express. It goes to the source of pain and gets to work in under 15 minutes. That's why Nurofen Express delivers fast and effective relief. Nurofen Express works at the source of pain. Fast.
Being a mom is great, but when your child has a fever, you don't know what to do. I trust Nurofen for Children to take care of my child's pain and fever.
Effective relief you can trust.
Dettol team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold?
No!
They are spread through germs, which are everywhere. You collect germs that cause diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands and taking your bath with Dettol soap to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Wash, wash, wash your hands. What you have to do is bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash, wash, wash your hands.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie, buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. Really? And to make Nigeria great again. That is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, showing live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. Now, to create a united Nigeria with shared values where social justice and fairness surpasses the individual interest is the vision of the Revive Nigerian Group. Revive Nigeria Group is a diverse group made of different Nigerians and members of the diplomatic corps, including policy makers, captains of industry, entrepreneurs, as well as Nigerians from all walks of life. Let's find out more, as we have guests seated already. Join us for the program. Kingsley?
All right, yes, we have two guests, as we indicated, Blessing. Two guests are with us here in the studios to discuss the vision and mission of the Revive Nigeria Group. First, we'd like to welcome Mr. Hubert Cheyenne. He's a member of the Board of Trustees and also head of the Revive Nigeria Group Launch Organizing Committee. Mr. Cheyenne, pleasure to have you join us on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Also here with us is the co-chair of the Revive Nigeria Group Board of Trustees, Aisha Waziri Umar. A pleasure to have you join us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So what's Revive Nigeria Group all about?
So Revive Nigeria Group is essentially a movement of ordinary citizens, especially professionals, who normally don't get involved in politics, who don't take an interest because they're focusing on their careers. These are actually a very large group of people who really have just not said anything about what's going on in the country. So we felt that it was necessary to wake up, to actually try and get involved in the conversation about Nigeria. I know this year, early this year, it was really bad when people started to talk about disintegration. There were calls for division. There was a lot of hate speech. And we felt that keeping quiet wasn't an option. We felt that we needed to get involved, join the conversation, if possible, hijack the narrative, and actually now provide a more positive narrative and actually inspire ordinary citizens to get involved in nation building rather than just sit down and bring the country down. So that's basically the reason why we started. Subsequently, we gathered a group of people, came and we had a brainstorming, like a retreat, where we discussed the problems and we identified one major problem, and that was that of national identity. We felt that the underlying problem was that there was no common factor that basically bonded Nigerians, and everybody was basically going in their own way. So we felt it was necessary to come back to the table, look at the things that bind us rather than things that divide us, and focus on those things rather than focusing on things that divide us.
So this is not what several groups have been doing in the past. So what's really new about what you're bringing on board?
I think ours is different because the caliber of people in our group, we have people, very, very accomplished people who, including diaspora, and people in the, high ranks in the civil society and private sector. We're all involved. People who've done so much in their careers, who we felt should come into the space and get involved in nation building. We believe that nation building shouldn't be left to government alone. Our population is about 180 million. We have about, how many thousand people in government positions? So if we rely on just them to build the nation, to take us to the promised land, I don't think it's going to happen. So we, as ordinary citizens, have to help. It's a collective effort, and that's why in our vision, you'll see where we said, a united Nigeria, where shared values, would basically surpass individual interests. So that's what we're talking about, collective interest. You have to have a goal. To go to anywhere, you must have a goal. You must know where you're going, and you must all go together. So that's essentially the rationale for starting the group.
Okay, as members from all walks of life, captains of industry, you have all been doing your own individual things in your own sectors. That's and all this. Yes. So what are those points, what are those critical areas? You've just talked about the issue of national identity. What are those critical areas you think, and I like you use the word hijack, something that's conversation. So something definitely is not right with the kind of conversation being held in the different sector.
Correct.
So how do you hope to string all of this together, forging one common front, without necessarily saying, okay, one side is usurping the other in all of this?
Well, I think, like I said, if you communication and conversation. So if you sit down and you discuss all the problems on everybody, listen to everybody's perspective. Everybody has a perspective. You listen to them and you come to some collective, some consensus about what how you should treat each other, for starters. So we focus on our shared values. We already have our things that we've listed that are important for every Revive Nigeria member. And respect, very important. Empathy, very important. Service, very important. Transparency, excellence, and respite. So these are things that we want to promote, because we believe that it's not enough to just have values. You have to act on them. So what we want to do is to get people to start acting out their values, rather than just saying, I stand for this, I'm not for this. Actually act it out. Actions speak louder than words.
Okay.
All right, thank you. We'll come back to you. Hubert, Cheyenne, let's get to your own perspective on the mission and mandate of the Revive Nigeria Group.
Well, as Aisha indicated, our movement evolved at a time when our unity as a nation was being threatened. The voices of gloom and doom were beginning to dominate the conversation. And as she rightly indicated, our organization is very diverse. People from all walks of life and have been successful individually in whatever their disciplines are. We felt that we needed to provide a platform, and that if we didn't try to seize that narrative, to recast the debate, the voices of moderation would be left, on the sidelines. And hence the evolution of the movement itself. When you talk of revive, it conjures up all kinds of images for different people. Some people assume that the nation is comatose and you're looking to, no, that's from our perspective. We're looking to rekindle the can-do Nigerian spirit, the sense of selflessness, the sense of service, and the sense of sacrifice. These core values were the things that really sets Nigeria apart from other nations. So we're looking to recast the debate and point to the evolution of the Nigeria of our dreams. So the launch event that's coming up soon, the intention here is for us to turn a new leaf, a new beginning, if you would.
Well, is Nigeria's problem so much of debate or so much of positive action to redress perceived and actual grievances that you find and you hear in all parts of the country? And as you rightly said, we saw how aggravated some of those agitations were earlier in the year.
Well, oftentimes what happens, we sort of retreat into our own little cocoons. As Aisha indicated, the hope, and the prayer is that this platform will bring people out into the space and be a part of this conversation. The reality is that we're all stakeholders in this enterprise called Nigeria. And the process had started, and I've frankly been very impressed with the quality of individuals who are very passionate about the future of this country.
No, okay, let's bring in Aisha again. My question has to do with whether or not conversation is the panacea for the national challenges that we have, rather than positive action. That namely, if there are grievances, seek to redress those grievances, and if there are issues, seek to redress those issues. Nigeria has had enough talk, according to some commentators, and what people are asking for is action. I mean, there are issues of insecurity. What are the causes? If there are issues of, if there are questions of marginalization, what are those issues? If we have problems of national identity, what lies beneath, the challenge of national identity, and how do you resolve them?
Well, Revive Nigeria isn't just a talk shop. I mean, we're not just talking. What I meant was that we started off, with that. First of all, let us talk about the problems. Let's hear from the various perspectives. What is it that bothers you? What do you think is the solution? We're also focusing a lot on the solution. So we basically, the way we structured the Revive Nigeria group is actually done in a way to address what you said. So within the Revive Nigeria group, we have groups. We have the Nigerian Study Group, and that group is a think tank for the group. They will come out with those economic policies, solutions, our own ideas about what we think would help. So we'd come out with position papers, come out with some ideas, basically policy, economic, and all the social, that is education, all those areas, the social and economic issues. That's the Nigerian Study Group. We come out with those ideas, and we would be advocating and promoting those kind of ideas to see if we can support government in a way, in a supporting role. We also have another group called the Democracy and Good Governance Group. Now that group is basically is going to be looking at the entire political system, which we've already started doing. We look at the system, we look at the flaws, we look at the constitution. Again, we look at the defects in that constitution and see the things that are actually not working. And that way, again, we will come out with our position papers, our advice and suggestions, recommendations, if you like. So that's the Good Governance and Democracy. That's two groups. The third group that we have is the Advocacy and Mobilization Group. And that group it's self-explanatory. Basically, that is the group that will handle mobilization. at the grassroots, the youth, and mobilizing just civil society, ordinary Nigerians, into this journey, to join us on this journey. So apart from that, we also have the Youth Development Group. Youth Development Group, again, you know, young people, they form a very large part of our population. They're very, right now they're disenfranchised. We want to inspire them. We want to assist them and help them, mentor them to see if we can, you know, also prop them up as well. Like I said, government alone with a few thousand people cannot take care of the millions and millions of youth. So we want to be also involved to help. So apart from that, we also have the Strategic Communications Group, and that group is just going to handle our communication because, of course, communication is very important if you want to have a movement. For us to have a common goal, we must be able to communicate effectively. And then the final one, the Diaspora Group, they form a very large, a very important part of the Revive Nigeria group because they've been diaspora all over the world, have contributed to building other nations. So we want them to also, we want to provide a platform for them to be able to also help Nigeria. Many people in diaspora actually want and they care and love Nigeria, but they just don't have entry points. So we want to be able to provide that point of entry where we can direct them to where they can go and how they can help. And finally, the fundraising group, which of course, you know, just to run our operations. That's the seventh group.
What is the membership of Revive Nigeria Group like? That's Mr. Shine again. What is the membership like?
Well,
who is a member? Who can be a member?
Well, membership is open. If you're Nigerian, you have a pathway to join us. You pay a membership, you know, we're a dues-driven organization.
You have to pay?
Yes, you pay, you know, 10,000 naira to join.
So not everyone can join?
Well, there are different categories of membership. You know, I mean, there are the foundation members of our organization, then there are members, and then there are supporters. So there's room for everyone. I mean, there are youth, you know, for instance, it's about 2,500, you know. So there are different categories. So if you're Nigerian, you have a role to play in our
What's
movement.
your membership strength like now?
Well,
we closed or registered maybe yesterday.
It's a yes. It's a yesterday. We have you know, close to about, you know, 500 members. And the supporters were spread around the country. I mean, you know, we get quite a large volume of mail, people, you know, lending their voices alongside ours, you know, either by way of communicating directly to us or going to our website. And so it's pretty diverse. And the official launch itself is...
So when is this official launch?
The official launch is tomorrow. And we're officially unveiling Revive Nigeria at the Yaradua Center. It starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, I can tell you a little bit about the program.
Well, that's part of what we'll be looking at would be at takeoff. What are some of those issues that you want to pursue in the short term and then medium and longer term?
Okay. Well, first of all, post-lunch, we've got a number of activities that we are planning.
Namely?
One is, as Aisha mentioned, we have the Nigeria Study Group. We're looking to release paper position on what we see to be the state of the nation. And one that speaks to the economy, where we are, with particular reference perhaps to the budget, you know, itself. What are we looking at? You know, where are the gaps? Things of the sort. And as she mentioned, you know, where government gets it right, we're right there with them. Where we at variance in terms of what we see not to be on the right trajectory, we provide policy alternatives. So the Nigeria Study Group will be putting out papers, and we're looking to have them quarterly. We'll be putting out papers quarterly on topical issues, you know, of the day. We're also looking to get on the road. We'll be going around the country, hoisting the Revive Nigeria flag, bringing people into the movement, if you would. As Aisha mentioned, during the embryonic stages of this organization, we had our retreat in Enugu. It's in part strategic, where we brought Nigerians and flew in from all over the world, to come and participate in that. And I think that's demonstrative of the kind of passion, the kind of interest that people have. So there's the reawakening, again, this rekindling of the spirit that we're talking about.
No, why not trying to douse your spirit of enthusiasm like that? What do you consider the hurdles that could jeopardize this group, just like some other groups have come up in the past saying, okay, these are Nigerian problems, these are issues plaguing the different strata of society?
Say that again.
What do you consider to be hurdles that you're likely to see in terms of moving on? We've seen groups like this come up from time past, and at the end of the day, it's just the same round paper presentation or some other kind of conferences. Just at the end of the day, we just go back to sit down.
Right. Well, I've been a part of numerous discussions about Nigeria, but there's something different about this organization. It's the zeal. It's the zeal and the determination.
Were you not zealous in those other ones?
Well, I was, but the collective, the spirit was somewhat not as not to the level of the fervor that we see in this. And I think this is a defining moment, for us. We oftentimes point to the problems. We have positioning ourselves as kind of more of a solutions-based. There's enough blame to go around. I mean, you pick a group. But the belief that we have a stake.
So you believe in this?
I believe in this.
All right, thank you. Let's bring in again Aisha Waziri Umar. Some of the issues that you already ticked off in terms of matters that your group will be focusing on, these are matters that are already in the public domain. Some of them are also work in progress. For instance, I mean, you're talking about the issues with the Constitution, matters that may not be working. There is already a process ongoing for a review of the Constitution. We have seen some amendments passed already by the National Assembly, which have also now been forwarded to the State House of Assembly. You want to coordinate Nigerians in diaspora. There is a Diaspora Commission. You want to talk about the youth. We have various youth programs. So are you running a parallel government?
No, absolutely not. I think the thing is, government starts an initiative. If you don't have the buy-in of your ordinary citizens, it won't work. So basically what we're trying to do is to get that, like I said, the civil society, ordinary Nigerians who normally wouldn't bother, to actually also get involved in that process. So whatever process is there, like Hubert said, if government is doing it right, if we believe in what they're doing, of course we will support and we will mobilize, and we're actually going to help government in that sense. We're not going to do our own thing. But where we feel that something is not right, we will try and give suggestions and recommend that this should be done this way. And like I said, dialogue is very important. And I believe that government in a democracy, they would listen, because it's not, we're not saying anything against the country. We're trying to just come up with solutions. So we will work with government, we will work with the diaspora, we will work with the youth, we will work with grassroots, we work with everybody to try and let's all go in one as a team. If you don't work together as one team with a common goal, you're not going to get anywhere. And I think that's one of the problems that we identified, that issue of not having something to bind us. We'll also focus on things like our music, the food, all the things that actually bind us, the positive things, rather than things that divide us. So I think that is why we want to bombard the space and about how wonderful Nigerian people are, how accomplished we are, and how talented we are. Other countries celebrate Nigerians. In the United States, the Nigerians are one of the best, the overachievers, if you like. So people wonder what is wrong with Nigerians? How come you do all this in other countries? You come to your country and you don't do it. And we believe the reason is because people just feel that perhaps it's a government's responsibility. So that's what we want to change the mindset, to get people to realize it's actually your responsibility. It's all ours. It's collective. It's about us. It's in our hands. So that's basically what we're trying to do.
Well, how would you respond again to the question that Blessing asked? We have seen groups come and go, and the nation's challenges also would appear to be almost intractable. Groups like yours, they've come and gone in the past, and then the problems continue to fester. The challenges continue to fester. The issue of national identity we talked about, plus what we saw earlier in the year.
Well, I think I would say three things: patience, passion, perseverance. And that's what we are going to do. We will persevere. We will not give up. I think there's nothing that you want to do that comes easy. You know, nothing good. Well, I wouldn't say nothing good, but a lot of things that you want to do don't come easy. You just don't give up. So we will make sure that we get there, and we're going to do all that we can. At least we should be able to tell our children that we did not sit back and watch this country and people just divide us up. Do you understand? We won't do that. So
earlier you talked about seeking to hijack. I mean, that's in a positive sense. You know what's ongoing. But my question is going to Hubert now. What risk is there of your group being captured in a political season that we're getting into?
Well, that's a very good question. We are an apolitical organization. We're non-partisan. We've got people from different, different political persuasions. APC, PDP, ABGA, you name them, but, we also recognize that politics stops at the water's edge, that our sense of patriotism, our sense of belonging is what fuels us. And as Aisha mentioned, it's the lack of this common ethos that binds us. It then has Nigerians going in disparate energies going in different directions. For instance, with our lunch, we made a strategic decision not to invite politicians. That's not.
But you'll be working with them. You'll still be working with them. Well, some of the areas you're going to be looking into, they are involved.
Well, we're not oblivious to the environment that we operate in. But our focus, and that's why with the lunch itself, it gives us an opportunity to tell Nigerians who we are and what we're all about. Our target audience obviously will engage. We are in the political space, but our charter, really it's about restoring our future. And that's the brand, that's the umbrella under which we are registered. We're a non-partisan organization, apolitical. And so, we have a multiple, target audience, if you would, and we will engage on a number of fronts. But I think we've built enough of a firewall around the organization to his point, that we ensure that we don't get, hijacked, to use this word.
Considering the scope of activities that you intend to engage in as a group, and the fact that also, as Hubert indicated, you are a subscription-driven organization, around about 500 members now. How do you intend to fund your activities?
Well, just like Hubert said, we're going to rely mainly on dues. However, we're also going to go into partnerships. We already identified some organizations that have agreed to work with us. So there are some things that we will do that we intend to get, donors. We had an activity in September called the Mad for Nigeria, which was a March Against Division. It was a unity carnival that we had at the Eagle Square, where that was a time when the tension was so high regarding, the Arewa youths and the Kanus, and the hate speech was so toxic that we felt, we wanted to make a statement. So we gathered in the Eagle Square on the 23rd of September, and we had a unity carnival where we invited Nigerian artists, Nigerian authors, we had Nigerian food and musicians, and basically Nigerians from all over came, and we had a carnival, and provided content for positive narrative in the media. That was very successful. So for that, Oxfam, for instance, basically funded quite a bit of that. So this is how we're very strategic about who we have an alliance with. We will not align with political parties. We do not take donations from politicians or political organizations. But civil society organizations like that, yes, we will use them as well, apart from our subscription. But a lot of our members will pay, and they rise to the occasion. Aside from the 10,000 naira, we have members who donate more when the need arises. So that's how we're operating at the moment.
When you speak to young people, what do you get from them in terms of, as they say, vibration about this country? And therefore, you know, how is that likely to affect your plan of action going forward?
We see a lot of enthusiasm. We see a lot of excitement. Young people are easily inspired. So they can be negatively inspired, they can be positively inspired. That's why it's very important for organizations like ours to exist, because we now provide that alternative for them to see that this is possible. When they mingle with members, we are very close to them. We teach them. They learn from us. I know a lot of the people in our group have told us in the last few months that the amount of things they've learned about nation building, about governance, things they normally about the economy, about things they never ever even bother with. You know, they're listening to, they're doing their thing. You know, so we've opened up the space in their minds, and I think we're also grooming leaders for the future, because at the age of 20-something, when you start to mix with people like Hubert, who are gurus in politics, in economics, I mean, brilliant people like that, you'll find that, you know, they actually absorb a lot of the things rather than the negative things. We believe the negative influence on youth is one of our big problems. If you notice in the Northeast, where I come from, Maiduguri, basically what happened was, you know, the Boko Haram sect was able to influence the young people. Because unfortunately, you know, in that state at that time, there was very, very poor governance, I have to say that, you know. There was nobody to show them the right way, and so they followed the sects.
And in showing them the ways that they could get influenced positively, like your group is intending to do, I'm so bothered about the fact that, okay, you have already pegged subscription fee for 10,000 naira. Though you said something about 2005 or maybe for some group. There are relatively some young persons who cannot even afford anything, but they're looking forward to having their life changed in a positive way. Now, how do you intend to mop up such numbers to actually go in the line which you want, especially in the rural communities?
Yes.
So it won't be just an elitist thing in Abuja and it ends there.
Yes. Actually, we do have the subscription for the younger people under 30s is not 10,000 naira. So we do have a category which is less than that. That's for starters. They pay half. That is 5,000 a quarter. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, by the time we go to the grassroots and try to mobilize at the grassroots level, like Hubert said, we have another category. So we have the full paying members, we have the young members, then we have another third category. Those are members who, like you said, you know, are not able to pay the full amount. So what we do in that case is, of course, the supporters membership category is zero. They can also be part of the RNG. There are certain things that we will do. For instance, if we had certain events that they will be invited to, regardless of the fact that they haven't paid. But so this is how we operate the organization. Yes.
All right. Thank you. I just, before we take the tweets from our viewers, Hubert, I'm wondering, considering the fact that if you go to different corners of the country, there are all kinds of issues begging for attention, but everybody wants to be virtually, as it were, a national player. Do you think that the national platform is one that ordinarily can help you drive some of these issues? Because if you were to go to the community level, go to the world level, go to, of course, world community and local government level, there are urgent issues begging for attention. You think that seeking to play at the national level is all that is more important now, rather than drilling down?
No, I don't think so. And it's why I alluded to some of the post-launch activities that we're looking to do. There's more to Nigeria than Abuja. You know, we're looking to get on the road, embarking on a road show. We've got members spread all over the place. and part of what we'll be doing is the activities and programs that we will be looking to execute will enable us to connect, with the people at that level, Now, of course, we've got a myriad of challenges in this country. We can't address all of them, and we have to cherry pick the ones that are pressing, that will really connect people and address, their issues at that level. So I think, and when I'm really looking forward to that. Oftentimes we get fixated and we think all the problems can be solved here in Abuja, and that's why when Aisha mentioned earlier, that for instance, government can't do everything,
Certainly.
and Nigeria is a place where we just expect, there's a lot of finger pointing that goes on. But the bottom line is we will be looking to get out, in the field.
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Shaheen. Nigerians have already joined in this conversation. They sent in their tweets, and we'll just read through them, and then we'll wrap up this discussion. From Abdullah Hamid Ado Dara, he says, I welcome the Revive Nigeria initiative. The group is really doing its best, but we should know that reviving Nigeria is a duty for every Nigerian. Therefore, we should join hands together to revive our only country.
This is from Change to Progress. That's Shitu 10. It says, Nigeria will change when the Nigerian elite decide that they have had enough of terrible misbehaviors and stop the terrible corruption, stealing, raping, and wanton destruction of our national values. Nothing is wrong with Nigeria, but a lot is wrong with the Nigerian elite.
Odrei Joseph as a Streets Revive Nigeria initiative. Hope not another new platform to negotiate with politicians for 2019. Your registration fee is too high.
All right. Those are the tweets that we can accommodate. And we'd like to thank our two guests who have been with us this morning discussing the Revive Nigeria initiative. Hubert Shaya is a member of the Board of Trustees and also head of the group's launch organizing committee. Mr. Shaya, thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, we also would like to appreciate Aisha Waziri Umar, co-chair of Revive Nigeria Group Board of Trustees. Thank you very much. That's of course the daughter of Ibrahim Waziri, that's the proponent of politics without bitterness, GMPP, Second Republic. Thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria still. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll take another topic for discussion.
Cold and flu can spread through the contact of hands. And in such situations, I can't risk falling ill. So I recommend Dettol, as it protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why I want to be Dettol sure. Dettol, be 100%.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Now to our second topic. We'll join Timothy Yusuf for the background report to kickstart the conversation.
Findings show that the Swiss government has over the years returned $723 million of stolen funds seized from the family of the late former head of state, Sani Abacha, to the Nigerian government over the last 10 years. In another finding, The United States Justice Department says it froze more than $458 million in corruption proceeds hidden by the late Nigeria's head of state, General Sani Abacha, and his conspirators in bank accounts around the world. In June 2014, Nigeria received $227 million from Lekkinston, a slice of the famous loot popularly called Abacha loot. The U.S. government in August same year took control of $480 million following a court order. This followed a United States district judge in Washington, D.C. order that the funds which were frozen by the Justice Department be forfeited to United States control. Investigations further revealed that the United States was working on a civil forfeiture complaint seeking recovery of over $550 million described by the Justice Department as the largest kleptocracy forfeiture action in its history. In the meantime, Nigeria is set to receive the sum of $321 million stolen by the family of late head of state General Sani Abacha, a third tranche. A tripartite memorandum of understanding has been signed to repatriate the third tranche by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, with Switzerland and the World Bank. The return of the looted funds is in line with Switzerland's policy of returning illegally acquired assets. The Memorandum of Understanding signed on the 4th of December 2017 stipulates that the restitution of funds will take place within the framework of a project known as the National Social Investment Program that will strengthen social security for the poor in Nigeria. In the face of reports that yet another tranche of the Abacha loot was to be returned to Nigeria, concerned individuals and groups have expressed disappointment about the lack of transparency in the handling of similar funds being returned. They say, with the expected new figure, the Swiss alone would have returned well over $1 billion to Nigeria. Will the funds ever benefit the Nigerian people? This is against the backdrop that a few years ago, it was alleged that about $215 million repatriated funds had disappeared on its way to Nigeria. What should be done differently towards achieving meaningful results from the past, as General Sani Abacha was suspected to have embezzled $2.2 billion from the country's central bank, an act described as brazen kleptocracy? Join us for answers on Good Morning Nigeria.
All right, Timothy Yusuf, thank you very much there for that background report. Now we have with us here in the studios familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria. Professor Abdullahi Shehu is a former Director General of Intergovernmental Anchor Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, and is currently a director at the Olusegun Obasanjo Good Governance and Development Research Center at the National Open University. Professor Shehu, an anti-money laundering expert, pleasure to have you join us on the program.
Good morning.
Okay. Also here with us this morning, another familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria, Ezenwa Nwagu, a civil society activist. Ezenwa Nwagu, pleasure to have you join us. You are out of the trenches from the Anambra election.
I don't think it was trenches.
All right, so good to see you on the program today.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's begin with Professor Abdullahi Shehu. For almost 20 years now, the story of the Abacha loot has been on. It's been yin and yang, yin and yang. Are we now likely to see the closure, as it were, to the Abacha loot saga with the impending repatriation of some $321 million by the Swiss government on the basis of some tripartite agreement signed involving Nigeria, the World Bank, and the Swiss authorities?
Well, thank you very much. It's a welcome development that the government has put the issue of anti-corruption and the recovery of stolen funds on the front burner on its own policy. The issue of repatriation of the Abacha stolen fund has been on for long, and this particular one they're talking about, the $321 million they're referring to, was the first issue that the current government brought to the attention of Nigerians after taking over power in 2015. And until today, that has not happened. I learned that an agreement was signed yesterday. I have not seen the details of that agreement. Whilst the government's efforts in recovering proceeds of corruption is commendable. There are a few questions that we need to ask in order to guide the process. One, why has the entire asset recovery of Nigeria started and ended with Abacha alone? Apart from Abacha's loot, I have not heard of any other loot being repatriated in Nigeria. So we need to expand the scope of the recovery to all other persons. Otherwise, it will tantamount to only chasing General Abacha's interest because he is dead. This will not be good for us. Secondly, we need to develop a comprehensive framework that will help us achieve what we want to do in terms of recovering our assets. I remember Nigeria actively promoted the special clauses, special articles in the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Nigeria championed Articles 51 to 59 of that convention with respect to asset recovery because the government's commitment to asset recovery was very strong. And if we have to do that, there are certain things we need to put in place in our country in order to enable us achieve the objective of asset recovery. Asset recovery is one aspect. The most important aspect is prevention. If you go to a jurisdiction and say you have located so asset of your country located in that country, the normal process is the political statement will be, we are ready to support you to return your asset. But how do you do that? They will now ask you, go to our Justice Department and negotiate with them. And if you go to the Justice Department, normally the first question they will ask, how did the asset leave your country in the first place? Somebody stole the asset. So you have to prove that somebody has actually stolen the asset before you can now begin to ask for the asset. This is one route. The other route, which is the route that Nigeria has taken, of course, with the Swiss government, is the informal route where certain things are waved aside for Nigeria to get. And in the first tranche of the money that Nigeria got, it was not entirely so because the Abacha organization had to be classified as a kind of a racketeering organization before the court in Switzerland could agree to return the funds. I do not know the framework under which the current 321 million is being brought, but it's a welcome development. We hope that government will put certain things in place in order for the funds to come and more recoveries also to be made. Finally, there is also need for some management of information. It seems that the issue of asset recovery has been escalated too much in the context of our anti-corruption fight. And it appears there's too much sizzles and little, what I can say, stake in it. So we need to downplay the effort and then we achieve first before we talk. Secondly, and most importantly, there is need to inject some transparency in the process, both in the recovery and in the management, because recovering asset and the entire process of fighting corruption requires trust between government and the civil society.
All right, Professor Shehu, thank you very much for your initial salvo. Let's bring in Ezenwa Wango into this now. It's, what are your thoughts? By the time the Nigerian government gets hold of the latest tranche, that will be a little over $1 billion recovered from the Abacha family. Are you satisfied with what we appear to have done with it or not to have done with it?
Well, I think that most of what has happened is some kind of windfall. I see it more as a windfall because asset recovery is one of the most difficult enterprise, whether government or civil society can pursue. Like Prof said, you steal the resources of your country, you take it out. Your money or your assets runs the economy of the domiciled environment. So if you go to Switzerland, you are not going to see 321 billion in one place, start somewhere. That money has gone out
circulated
to people doing business with it, investing in the economy of their country. So the biggest challenge for me is the kind of mentality that governs the elite of our country, that triggers that kind of attitude where you pillage your country to the point where you don't even invest it in your own country. Then you take it out, and then this whole struggle of getting it back. And when it's got back, the nature of the elite that you currently have is one in which there is a sharing mentality. Let's share it. And then you share it among who? With the kind of governing system, governors who are ZAS, who take these monies. You have evidence now that they will not even use it for the people. When you talk about social investment, you are talking about, in many states, for instance, we are talking about conditional grants to small and medium enterprise. These are also, you use the word you earlier, hijacked. They are hijacked by these same, elements that we talk about, who redirect that money for more than things that are for public good. So the challenge really is that we're happy that these monies will come. We congratulate the government for the effort to return these monies. But like Prof said, we need to do more in terms of how do we manage? How do we manage and make sure that these monies that come back benefit a greater percentage of our citizens who, when you heighten, when you say $320 million had come in, there's some kind of excitement that perhaps if this is injected truly into poverty reduction, into the number of children of school age who are not to reconstruct the insurgency and all of that, that we could begin to heave some sigh of relief. But that's not happening because of the nature of the kind of elite that we currently have.
Mr. Ezenwa, also Prof, part of what the MOU said to have stipulated that restitution of these funds will take place within the framework of a project known as the National Social Investment Program to strengthen social security for the poor in Nigeria. Already, for even some other funds that are being indicated coming, and there are indications that there are restrictions or some kind of conditions coming alongside. How do we begin to redirect that excitement you talk about in receiving this one and making sure what it's intended for will not go back the other way, the same way this was fleeced?
Citizen aloofness and insensitivity makes that happen. If we follow the money, like my friends say in code, if we follow the money, it has come, and then we are interested in ensuring that the money is invested in the right things. We have Paris Club reforms. You know the politics that has surrounded it. You know what has happened around all of that. You know that it is now taking some kind of decree to make people put it. So it is about the citizens. The citizens, when Prof was talking about not talking about it, I quaked a bit because I'm interested in that openness. We need to track these funds, every step of it. And then we need to also begin to name and shame. This whole idea of, let's not talk about it, if people loot the resources of their country, we cannot give them comfort. We should not give them comfort. As citizens, we should be able to call them out from time to time. As we speak, investments are going, there is already money going into school feeding program in many countries. But go out there, go to the states and find out who is being fed. You'll be amazed that the resources that are sent to those states have been cornered. They've been cornered by people who their state assembly cannot challenge. The citizens in the state have been so intimidated and cowed to the point they no longer can even ask questions. So it's about how much are we able to pose the right questions and follow them up with the right, knowledge about what has happened. Because yes, now an MOU has been signed, we know about it. When the money comes, you hear about sharing it to the different. You see governors forum pose. They will pose. They will embolden themselves that this money has to be shared. And when those monies get to those states, you then begin to hear about the fact that there are other things that have been pending that needs,
such as the Paris Club. Thanks a lot, Professor Abdullahi Shehu. Just one point to follow up on what Ezenwa just indicated. Whose money is coming back? Well, is it money? I mean, I know that this is strictly probably a legal question. Is it money belonging to the federal government or money belonging to the Federation account?
Well, I'm delighted to hear that the agreement specified particular project that will be invested on. This is gratifying. However, that leads to other questions. That leads us to the issue that there will be a monitoring mechanism involving external maybe interests like the World Bank that is involved one way or the other. And that brings again the issue of why should Nigeria subject itself to that kind of monitoring, which is something that I believe majority of Nigerians are opposed to. But at the same time, we know that is because of the lack of trust that really Nigeria will utilize it in that way. I had written a book on corruption, and my suggestion on asset recovery is that let there be a signage. When a recovery is made, let there be a project that will serve as a signage. The $321 million that is coming, why was it taken away? Was there a proposal for Abacha to approve for the purchase of something that was not done and somebody stole the money? If that was the case, bring the money, do that same thing, and put a signboard that this road was constructed with the money recovered on so-so-so date. This will give more confidence to Nigerians. Now, on the issue of whose money, well, in principle, if it is the Abacha money, it will be federal government money, because it is assumed that it must be something that was appropriated in the federal budget. Well, during the military, there was no national appropriation, but at least it was within the federal government budget. So I assume that it will go to Nigeria. But even at that,
it will go to the federal government.
Yes, it will go to federal government, I beg your pardon. So, but even at that, the question would be, would the government have to present the money to National Assembly for appropriation, or it has to go straight away? Based on the spirit of the agreement that she mentioned to me.
Straight away to where?
Straight away to the project.
Okay.
Because from the way she has mentioned, I assume that it's a project that has to go through appropriation. And before the processes are concluded, it will take a minimum of 9 months. That is in the best case. And then we don't expect that to happen in the 2018 budget. So we should be thinking about 2019. And by that time, politics has started. Now, the issue is, if we say we must go through the appropriation, it means that we have not really defined how the money was really stolen. Because we really need to build confidence in Nigeria to say, look, so-so-so person under Abacha's government wrote a memo to Abacha to approve money for the purchase of drugs, and that money was diverted to Switzerland. Now the money has been returned. We are going to buy so-so-so quantity of drugs and give it to this hospital. Take the statistics and give out to Nigerians. That is a proper accountability. But now, yesterday I had in the House of Representatives, somebody was saying he was not sure that the money the government said they recovered and included in the 2017 appropriation has really been spent. So this raises another question, that we need to be very careful about the way and manner we manage the process. We really need to put a system in place, a system of accountability that is transparent, that is predictable, that can be monitored by civil society, that can be monitored by everybody, and that will also give confidence to the international community.
I'm wondering, gentlemen, we are hearing now $321 million to be repatriated by the Swiss authorities. From the regular practice of such repatriation, Professor Shehu, are there attendant costs? In other words, is $321 million the gross sum, or is it the net amount?
Well, definitely there would be some costs. It cannot just come on a platter of gold like that. First of all, this money has been out of Nigeria for over 20 years. Has it generated any interest? Where is the interest? Who is taking it? Secondly, the cost of even the Attorney General going to Washington to sign this, if we evaluate how many times has he traveled on that, how many times have Nigerian officials traveled on asset recovery? Currently, a global program on asset recovery is taking place in Washington. And Nigeria has one of the largest delegations to that. So if you take that into account, it means that we have incurred significant costs in the course of following up this money. But this is the kind of cost that is not actually calculated for us to know how much it is in naira and dollar terms. But definitely there will be some costs. Whether some legal people were involved, because they said it's a tripartite agreement. So some people must have drafted the agreement and they will have to be paid. Some people will be monitoring the agreement, so they must have to be paid. If the World Bank is to monitor that project, definitely there has to be a project officer who will be hired on certain conditions, and there will be some other people who will be supporting, consultants who will be doing some work to support that. So there will be some
we cannot eye $321 million. As in, we're talking about what governors, some members of the Governors Forum might say 321 has come, this is the figure multiplied by the current exchange rate and see the naira value. But speaking more seriously now, Professor Sho was talking about that, and you have also referenced it. The paper trail for the loot. What do we need to do in terms of tracking to say, look, how did this occur? Who were the facilitators? We keep hearing Abacha's name is the one who is carrying the can. I mean, he's deceased now, but does the system overlook the paper trail and indeed, you know, other conspirators?
Do we have effective instrument of sanction for? Do we even have the records? Prof was talking about documents. If you go back to the ministries and agencies that were running things under Abacha, you'll be amazed that you will not be able to find one memo that points to, you know, what actually happened. Most of those things will have been packed into some kind of store right now. So that inability for documentation is one big challenge that we're going to be facing. But I also think significantly that we need to stay on first and foremost the fact that we got this back, no matter what it is. Because like I said, like Prof said, there are many other loots that you are not ever going to be able to get back. So if you get $300 million, take the $21 million as cost, I think you've got something. So what is important is what are the mechanisms that we have in place to prevent relooting? And that's the big issue. Once you subject it, I'm excited about, can this go to projects that you can signpost, that this is, just like we say EU funded, we can say loot funded, and then we can see it, if it is borehole, if it is dispensary, if it is. Once you appropriate this money, we all know
what will happen.
We do know there is no need making. So once
what will happen?
Once we appropriate it, the mechanism to ambush it by the same people who, because looting has not stopped. If we are still talking about some Desiani money somewhere. We are talking about starching money in Ikoyi residents and all of that. If those monies were not found, they would have found their way out of the country. So relooting is the biggest challenge that we have. So we need to excite citizens, we need to excite the media to begin to touchlight more strongly in terms of tracking and run a campaign really in terms of how to invest that money. If we run that campaign significantly and in such a manner that raises some of the concerns that Prof has said, let's find collective agreement in terms of where we put this money. What are the most overaching concerns of citizens right now? Don't talk about buying drugs for dispensaries. Nobody can follow those things. If it is rail that we are dealing with, we want to, let's say that this rail was built by the looted funds.
Let's say Abuja, Lokoja rail,
yes,
or Lokoja.
If we are going to build an international airport that can meet, you know, that can reduce the shame of what we call airports in Nigeria, we can say, okay, all these loot that is coming, we are putting it into building a world-class international airport. We can be seeing that, and then the confidence is talked. But as we speak, all the ones that have been brought back, today, this figure will come from EFCC. We have this, we have... So the National Assembly itself, everyone is confused because you don't even have a concerted, clear, you know, direction in terms of how much. This one now we know. minus whatever you want to minus. Take away the cost of consultants and everything. Put it at whatever figure. Put it somewhere, and then Nigerians can
All right,
track it.
Prof, let's take further. For some of the recovered loads now is good, and I like the fact that we're saying, okay, we should put in mechanism to actually track some of those ones that have already been going to be received. Now, in gaining further confidence of the international community, of course, there are still several. No, there's the Jersey Island, and they say already they want cooperation between government to government. Now, how do we begin to make sure such mechanisms are in place, or if already in place, strengthened, to actually track some of this investment that we're looking forward to having?
Well,
what
okay. Let me give you just one example with the United States. What you flash on the screen, I saw, they said they are ready to return 550 million. This issue of 550 million, to my mind, has been there for over 10 years, and it has not happened. Do we have any single recovery from the United States at all? We do not. There have been cases between Nigeria and the United States. Take, for example, the Halliburton case that happened in Nigeria. The perpetrators were tried and convicted in the United States. Their counterparts here, nothing has happened to them. So what impression are we creating? This means that we are not able to enforce our laws. What I'm saying with respect to prevention is that we need to strengthen institutions so that the institutions can outlive individuals. For example, our law enforcement agencies, the ICPC, the EFCC, for example, in what way have we strengthened their capacity to follow these assets? In what way have you strengthened their capacity to conduct diligent investigation? Because it seems that we have taken the criminal route in getting our assets back. So you have to take somebody to court, charge the person, go through the legal processes, get the person convicted before his asset can be recovered. How many convictions have we really secured? Consequential conviction, I'm not talking about Yahoo conviction of people who did 419 in the cyber cafe. I mean really those who have stolen money. So these are the issues. We need to strengthen capacity of our agencies to do good investigation. We need to strengthen our prosecutory personnel to really understand the nuances of good prosecution so that they can present their cases very creditably in court so they can secure conviction, and that will result to some confiscation.
But do you have issues about the international bodies there giving us conditions to actually regulate this disbursement? Yeah.
Well, from the way I heard that it's a tripartite agreement and it's signed in the World Bank, I can surely tell you that the World Bank is interested and they will follow up. The same thing they did when we were recovering the first tranche of the Abacha loot. They came in, they followed it. But after we had the followed in, I heard that part of the money that was misused for arms purchase was part of the Abacha loot. I don't know what happened, whether they have received any guarantee that it will not happen or not. But the important thing is let the money come back anyhow. Let it come back. Even if it is wasted, it's Nigerians' money. Let it come back. That is very important. But in getting the money back, we need to respect and follow due process.
All right. Professor Sho, thank you very much. Let's take reactions from our viewers who have sent in their tweets. The Twitter handle is there at the screen, on the left bottom corner of the screen at NTA GMN. If the status quo, this is from Sunday Michael Amakoje, if the status quo of relooting continues, well, I'm of the opinion that the money should be left in a foreign land until we are ready to do something tangible with it. A situation where some governors collect this money and are not accountable is unacceptable.
Festus Akimbayo has a tweet. I don't know whether the agreement between Nigeria and Switzerland to release Abacha loot is a pleasant news, because stolen money recovered so far has not impacted the lives of poor Nigerians. Anyway, it will be good if the recovered loot can be used to improve electricity supply.
Jibril Naina tweets, now that's the recovered loot, Abacha loot should be used for priority projects, employing the jobless and paying debts. This will help the economy to rise strongly.
Another tweet from Dele Jack. Okay, that's the first one now. Sorry. Dele Jack Solomon. Be that as it may, we must not forget to give kudos to the federal government for getting stakeholders and other interest groups on board for the asset recovery drive. We urge the civil society to continue to collaborate with federal government in the fight against corruption and in tackling illicit financial flows.
Ado Daura tweets. Now, this is a welcome development. I hope the agreement will materialize soon. The government should do more to discourage potential looters by ensuring adequate penalties.
Mike Ayanko tweets. This is a very welcome development. Kudos to the federal government of Nigeria. This money should be injected into economy for growth. It must be channeled into agriculture, massive road constructions, power revitalization, resuscitation of our refineries, modernization of our health facilities, and education.
Now, this is from Bola Nuga. It says, I'm hoping that the money will be injected into the economy as a cushion effect. It's wonderful for Switzerland to agree to release the money.
Omogbolawan Bab CFR says, my grounds here really is, those funds released so far, how has the government expended same and on what infrastructure? Nigerians must begin to see dividends of democracy if the present leadership wants to earn the citizens' trust.
Festus Akimboyewa says, Abacha did not act alone in looting our treasury. Sadly, no one has been put behind bars for this heinous offense against 180 million Nigerians.
Clifford Agugesi says, the staccato approach to loot refunds is both confusing and diversionary. How much looted funds have been repatriated thus far?
Kajo Clyde tweets, the money should be spent on social investment programs like N-Power and certain infrastructure like certain trunks of roads in the budget. Well, those are the tweets that we have. Professor Sheo, would you like to speak further to the signage idea you talked about to say, look, let's get, shall we say, a signature project that the related funds can be utilized on? Because as Ezenwa Wango was indicating in his comment, seeking to trace the origin of the looted funds, might be some Herculean research task. But can we achieve a national consensus? I'll say, identify a project and say the Abacha loot is coming, whatever net amount we have, $250 to $300 million, invest on it. Say Second Niger Bridge, for instance. Say whatever, say a new rail line, Lagos Ibadan is already on. Anywhere, coastal line, the coastal railway line. Can we achieve a national consensus on that?
Well, the national consensus can be driven by the government, the federal government. In that case, forget about, I'm not referring to what is happening at the state and local government because the subject we are talking about is predominantly something within the purview of the federal government. The federal government can develop this consensus. Perhaps the Attorney General can initiate that. There is a national anti-corruption strategy, and that national anti-corruption strategy consists of an asset recovery aspect. So that asset recovery aspect should be expanded to develop a framework to clearly open up the process to those who are involved, the stakeholders, including the civil society, to understand the process. First, Nigerians will need to know how much we have recovered from abroad, how much we have recovered from within, and from whom. Now, having done that, Nigerians will need to know, even if you are sending this money for appropriation, let it be clearly defined that in the 2018 budget, we think that about 100 billion will be from recovered funds. And this recovered fund will be used to construct the road from Lafia to Makodi. You see, this is something that, yes, civil society can monitor it, okay? Or you say, just as my brother said, construct something that is visible, whether it is an airport or something that at least there will be legacy forever. And it will be a very good catch for the government to make the kind of publicity they need. Because the problem that civil society has with the government is that continuously they say, yes, we have recovered this, but nobody knows the actual amount that has been recovered. And when you ask questions, they say you are criticizing the government. It's not criticism. It's just that the civil society has a right to know what is happening with their government. And the funds is for Nigeria, so they need to know. So I will suggest that we should look at this aspect of creating a signage within the framework of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy that Nigeria has developed and adopted.
Professor Shehu, thanks. Ezenwa, your closing thoughts, rather.
Well, anytime people talk about this social reinvestment thing, it points to tokenism, the tokenism of end power, the tokenism of you win, the tokenism of, and then eventually it doesn't scratch on the unemployment challenge. What is jinxed about Ajokuta? What is the reason why an intervention like Ajokuta that has consequence for Jos Rolling Steel Mill, that has for Shogbo, that has for Alaja? If Ajokuta comes on stream, the number of citizens that can be mopped up in terms of employment, is it possible to put this kind of resource that we are getting into ensuring that we take off that jinx on Ajokuta and get it working? If we do electricity, the industries, the Sharadas, the Lupejus, all those Dunlop and the rest of them that exited to Ghana will find their way back, because the cost of doing business in terms of is getting higher. So is there not a lot of, there needs to be some kind of thinking going around this windfall, because that's what I called it. You didn't expect it to come, it has come, put it into good use.
All right, Ezenwa Wango, civil society activist, always a pleasure having you on Good Morning Nigeria. Thanks again for your contribution to our discussion this morning.
It's my pleasure.
And our appreciation also to Professor Abdullahi Shehu, former Director General, Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa. Prof, always a delight for your insights on our discussion on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Okay,
let's try and take a couple of our complimentary segments now. We'll go over to the sports desk.
Nigeria's D Tigers dropped 6 places in the latest FIBA World Ranking released on Wednesday. D Tigers were one of the top 5 teams that dropped more than 3 steps in the ranking, along with New Zealand, Egypt, Mozambique and Rwanda. The runner-up at the 2017 FIBA AfroBasket Championship, D Tigers finished the month of November in 32nd position from their previous 26th in the world ranking, amassing 211.4 points, but retained their status as the best team in Africa. In the world ranking, USA remains the top team in the world, and they are followed by Spain, Serbia, France and Lithuania in the top 5. Kosovo, Chile, Armenia, Chad and Syria are the biggest movers. Meanwhile, 21 skaters are to represent Team Nigeria at the 2017 African Skating Championship holding from December 6th to 10th in Lome, Togo. Unveiling the team at the National Stadium in Lagos, President of the Nigerian Roller Sports and Skating Federation, Comrade Joseph Eva, said the skaters were carefully selected from a pool of over 40 skaters at a rigorous camping exercise. He said Team Nigeria will be competing in male and female categories, specifically stating that events like team trials, sprint runs, relays and marathon have all been registered for by the Nigerian contingent.
All right, thank you very much there, Azu, for the sports package on Good Morning Nigeria. And of course, that does it for us for today's edition of the program. We appreciate your tuning in. We're back tomorrow at the same time, at 7 o'clock in the morning. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. I wish you the best of the rest of the day.
Also wish you the very best of the day. My name is Blessing Abu. Thank you for watching.